Every single year, your league resets. You draft 15 guys, you grind all season, and then poof, gone. You start completely over from scratch. You've been playing fantasy football on hard mode, and you didn't even know it. There's a better way. It's called Dynasty. And by the end of this video, you're going to wonder why you ever played any other way. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Bros. Today, we're breaking down Dynasty football completely from scratch. If you've heard the word Dynasty thrown around in your league and had no idea what people were talking about, this is your video. No jargon, no assumptions, from the ground up. Here's exactly what we're covering from today. Dynasty versus redraft. What's the difference? How your roster works. The rookie draft and trading picks. Why players' age matters more in Dynasty than redraft. And build mode versus win now mode. Picking your strategy. Let's get into it. So first things first, what actually is Dynasty Fantasy Football? To understand it, you have to understand what regular fantasy or redraft is. In redraft, which is what most people play, you draft a brand new team every single year. Season ends, everyone gets dropped, fresh start. It's basically a 1-year rental on every player you own. Dynasty is the complete opposite. In Dynasty, you keep all of your players year after year after year. Your roster carries over every single season. So if you drafted Jamar Chase, you keep Jamar Chase forever unless you decide to trade him. That changes everything about how you think about the game. Now, instead of just worrying about this season, you're looking like an actual NFL GM. You're building a roster for the long haul. That's why it's called Dynasty, because the goal is to build one. Here's the thing that makes Dynasty so much more interesting than redraft. Every decision has a consequence. A bad trade in redraft? Who cares? Stings for 1 year. Get over it and restart fresh. A bad trade in Dynasty? You're feeling that for years, which honestly makes winning feel so much better because you earned it for year over year. So let's talk about how your actual roster works in Dynasty because it looks very different from redraft. In redraft, you might carry 15 players, kicker, defense, etc. In Dynasty, you're usually looking at 25 to 30, sometimes more, depending on your league, which may sound overwhelming at first, but it makes sense when you understand the structure. So you've got your starting lineup, basically the same as redraft. You got wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight end. That part's familiar. But your bench is way bigger. And in most Dynasty leagues, you have something called a taxi squad. What is a taxi squad? Well, think of it like a real NFL practice squad. So you draft a late round rookie, you think he has promise, but you know he's not going to get any touches year one. So what do? Plug him into your taxi squad. No one can touch him. He doesn't take a spot up on your roster. He doesn't take a spot up on your bench. It's basically just a free slot. Most leagues have 2 to 4 of these. And now you don't have to worry about, say, if he does pop off, fighting over waivers for the rest of your league mates because you just had a free stash on your roster until he pops off. So Dynasty is an investment game. And the best managers in any Dynasty league think like investors, not like gamblers. Now, here's the part that separates Dynasty from everything else in sports, the rookie draft. Every year, right after the real NFL draft, Dynasty leagues run their own rookie draft. Every team gets to pick from the pool of incoming rookies. Your draft order is usually determined by the previous season standings. Worst teams pick first, best teams pick last, just like the actual NFL. But here's where it gets spicy. You can trade those picks. You can trade a pick before the draft happens. You can trade a pick 2 years out in advance. So you could trade 2028 first-round picks right now and get monetary value for them. Picks are the best currency in Dynasty, personally, in my personal opinion. A first-round pick might even be the most valuable asset you have on your entire roster. Say an example. This year, if you have the 101, which is overwhelmingly Jeremiah Love, that's going to be probably most people who have the 101's most valuable item. So they really got to take advantage of that. And here's where it gets good. So speaking of strategy, before you can think about how to build, you need to understand the single most important concept in Dynasty, and that is age. In redraft, age barely matters, if at all. A 31-year-old running back is having a great year. That's awesome. You can trade for him. You can draft him in other leagues if you think he's going to continue to do great. But in Dynasty, that same 31-year-old player might be nearly worthless because you're keeping him for years. And running backs fall off hard, usually after the age of 30. Hard stop. You have your outliers, but most of the time, if a running back is 30, get rid of them. Every position in football has what's called an age curve. Basically, the window where a player is at peak value. Quarterback is usually the longest window. You have usually age 25 to 33. That's considered their peak. Wide receiver is usually 23 to 29. Running back, usually 22 to 27. Most fall off a cliff after 28. Obviously, you have your outliers, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, etc. But a good rule of thumb is to abide by this rule. And then your tight end peak is usually 25 to 30. They're usually slower to develop the first couple seasons, and then they usually come on strong towards the back half of their 20s. So a 22-year-old wide receiver in Dynasty, that guy might be your most valuable asset on your whole roster, even if he's not doing much yet, because you have the next 6, 7, 8 years of prime football ahead of you. Now, 30-year-old running back, trade him. Trade him immediately. Don't think about it. Get what you can. Trade him. That's why Dynasty managers obsess over rookie wide receivers and your quarterbacks so much, because you're not just buying what a player is right now, you're buying what he's going to be or could be. My favorite way to think about it is Dynasty fantasy football is where fantasy football meets the stock market. You always want to buy low and sell high and invest into the future. You don't want to get caught up on name value. You don't want to get caught up in emotional attachment. It's strictly numbers. If nothing happens and a player just booms overnight, trade him. The odds of him keeping up that entire season, good example, Michael Wilson had an insane stretch at the end of the last season. His dynasty value is higher than it's ever been. So honestly, if you don't believe he can keep that up, which it may be hard, but try to capitalize on that. The time to sell was in the middle of last season when you have competitive teams that need a receiver. You should have capitalized on that. Now, it might be a little late. You might have missed your window. So now you just kind of have to wait and see. So last thing, and this is important. When you join a dynasty league, you have to decide what kind of manager you're going to be. There's two main strategies. Strategy 1, build mode. This is the long game. You're trading older players for young talent, maybe some future draft picks. You might have a rough year or two, but when your core hits their prime at the same time, you're going to dominate for years. Think of it like an NBA rebuild. Strategy 2, win now. Your roster's stacked. Your players are in their prime, and you go all in. You trade in future draft picks. You trade young players. You mortgage your future because the championship window is open right now, and you're going through it. Neither strategy is wrong as long as you commit to it. The teams that consistently lose in Dynasty are the ones stuck in the middle. They're too old to rebuild. They're too young to win. They're just stuck in purgatory. That's no man's land. If you're just starting out, I would suggest going to build mode every single time. Load up on your young wide receivers, grab first-round picks whenever you can, and be patient. The dynasty managers who build true dynasties always spend at least a year or two looking terrible at first, and that is okay. All right, so let's bring it all together. Dynasty fantasy football. 1, keep your players year after year. No more starting from scratch. 2, your roster is bigger. Starting lineup, bench, taxi squad to develop rookies. 3, every year there's a rookie draft, and those picks are very, very tradable assets. 4, age matters more than anything. Target young players who have their prime football ahead of them. 5, pick a lane. Build mode or win now. Don't get stuck in the middle. That's Dynasty. And look, this is just the foundation. We've got a whole series coming up that covers everything. How to evaluate rookies, how to trade like a pro, how to build a roster from scratch. If you want all of that, hit subscribe right now. We drop new Dynasty content weekly, and drop a comment below. Are you already in a Dynasty league, or is this the first time you're hearing about it? I read every single comment. I'm Aaron, and this is Fantasy Bros, and we will see you in the next one.